let's get to talk a little Canes, baby, and our Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report. We do it with Manny Navarro next.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.
The viewpoints, statements, or beliefs expressed on the following program by the host, guests, or callers are not necessarily the opinions of FantasyAccess.com, Media Group Inc. ownership, management, sponsors, or website. Time for Canes fans to get what they want. Information, insight, and perspective. It's the Caneswear Miami Hurricanes Report with Manny Navarro. Exclusively on the Big O Radio Show. Here's Big O and insider Manny Navarro.
All right, there he is, the man, the myth, the legend that is Manny Navarro. There he is. He's in his car, too, and everything, ready to go. How you feeling, my man?
Doing great. Oh, got the good news. The wife and 6-year-old are negative, so I'm free to leave the house, free to become a reporter again in person. Came down to practice today.
Wow, nice. All right. But
Yeah.
were you able to watch practice? No.
Well, I didn't get here in time for the 20-minute viewing, but, I mean, it's guys stretching and going through drills, so nothing too sexy, Big O.
Yeah, no, normally there isn't much sexy early on. It's stretching and all that good stuff. All right, so, oh God, I don't know where to start, but one of the things that I think that we overreact a little bit on one of the things that, because I get fans to call me, DM, whatever, and they should have done this, they should have done that. I don't think anything that they think you could have done would have made a difference in this game in the end. It was never really, Florida State and Notre Dame, Florida State can sit back and kick themselves in the ass and say, hey, we could have done this, we could have done that, maybe we win the game. But I think that's one thing that's pretty obvious. No matter what you did, they were completely outclassed at every level.
Yeah, that's the one thing I took away from this game. Is, and we knew it going in. I gave you the stat last week, right? 11 5-stars for Alabama in the 2 deep, 1 for Miami. I get it. People are disappointed with the job that Manny did in this game, getting these guys prepared. You shouldn't lose by 31 points. But you know what? Alabama's just that much better than everybody. And let's face it, Miami's still nowhere near being a contender with the roster that they have. And I know people get upset. They say, well, Manny's been there. This is year 3, and he's had 2 years to recruit. How many of these guys are ready to play in the first or second year normally, right? And so I get it. There's frustration. You don't want to look as bad as they did against Alabama. But I always raise the same question, who are you going to bring in that's going to do better here if you're not going to spend money?
Right, and I piggybacked a little bit off of your theory of, and which I agree with you, that if you're going to hire somebody, you got to hire somebody that has built programs before and has experience. And that's the other thing that I've kind of been my theme today, that I want to remind people that while Manny is the problem, but he's only part of the problem. The bigger problem is the administration, Manny. How much do they really care about winning? Because if you're hiring Randy Shannon, and if you're hiring Al Golden, and if you're also hiring, Manny Diaz now, you're really not getting the creme de la creme. You're really not getting what you've talked about many times on my show, is get the guy that has experience, that's been there and done it, the proven guy. You're getting the unproven guy, which, that was great. Back in the day when you found Jimmy Johnson out of Oklahoma State, you can do those kind of things, and Dennis Erickson overachieving at Washington State, and so you bring him over and you can do those kind of things. But nowadays, that under-the-radar guy is hard to find anymore, and they're usually paid a lot of money. So the question I have for you is, how much does this administration truly care about putting together the kind of team that is going to compete against fanatical programs like Oklahoma and Alabama and all these other ones that are out there?
Yeah, I mean, I think the reality is in college football, there's a handful of teams that have a chance to win the championship every year, right? Oklahoma's in a perfect conference because it's weak. They're obviously leaving that conference now for the SEC, but with a quarterback and a good quarterback coach and a good offensive coach, they've managed to win the Big 12 and give themselves a chance to make the playoff. Ohio State is in another crap conference. They've got no competition in the Big 10 every single year. Clemson, they're in a crap conference. There's no competition. And then it's everybody else in the SEC, right? It's the LSUs, it's the Alabamas, it's the Georgias. Those are the teams that realistically have a chance of winning a championship every year. So unless you want to sort of say to yourself, I want to be at that level as a program like Miami and spend $10 to $12 million on coaching, not just $3 or $4 million on coaching, you're going to continue to be at this level. And it's been 20 years of this. And people,
I know.
I don't understand how they continue to be baffled or surprised. Like,
Right.
What do you expect? And so, firing Manny does nothing. It really does. It does nothing. All it does is start the whole process over again. You look at Clemson. To me, they're the closest comparison because they're in the same conference. Dabo, it took them 5-6 years and landing a bunch of really good quarterbacks before they got into the conversation. Manny's in year 3. Like I said, none of the players that are any good that he's recruited the last 2 years are playing now unless they came in through the transfer portal. So I don't get this whole rush of, hey, we got killed by Alabama. Look how far. Yes, you're that far away after 20 years of this. The main thing that Manny has to maintain here is win 9 to 10 games. Don't lose the games you're not supposed to, right? Don't lose the games to Duke and FIU and all these people. Get into the conference championship game, and that is how you take a step forward. There's no, hey, year 3, Manny Diaz is going to beat Alabama and win the national title. That's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. So,
Just to follow up, I've said this a couple times in the last couple of days. I don't see Miami ever being elite again.
Right.
I just don't, because they don't do the things that elite teams are going to do. They don't have the crazy dedication to football. They do just enough, and they've teased people enough. And listen, in the end, all of us that experienced all the greatness, we're going to eventually all die. Okay? No, I got to be honest right now, because we got a group of young people over the last 20 years, but they don't know what really good football is anymore. And before you know it, in the next 10 to 20 years, if you keep doing the same shit, by then you're going to have plenty of people that forgot about those days already. And there are days gone by, and it's just another era, and it was so long ago. But that's kind of what we're in the process. And unfortunately, we have a lot of people that are in our age group that keep waiting and waiting for that moment to come back again. And then we got to look at Michael Irving and Edgerrin James make complete asses out of themselves, talking about they're going to shock the world. And that's because they're all stuck in this rut that they think greatness is right around the corner again. And it couldn't be further from the truth.
If everybody just, put their expectations into reality, nobody would feel this way. Nobody would be upset.
Right.
I mean, what has Manny done in 3 years here to make you think they're ready to beat Alabama or even compete with them?
That's what I said last week.
I just, so forget the expectations. Live in reality. Live in reality that your school is what it is. It's one of the other 35, that are going to be 7, 6, 8, 9, win 10 team and never beat the great teams until they get to the point where they've got enough talent to step on the field with those guys and enough good coaches to coach those guys up to put you in a position to win. There's a wide gap. There is a gulf between Miami and Alabama and the elite teams in college football.
Yeah, there's no doubt. And to use a basketball term, Miami's become a mid-major. That's it, dude. That's what they are. They're not the scrubberinis of college football, but they're a mid-major. They're gonna flirt with the teens in the rankings. Every once in a while, they might crack the top 10 for a week or two or whatever. But they're a team that right now they're kind of middling, and they're stuck there.
They're a bowl team. They're a perennial bowl team who could win their division.
Right. A bad division. Right. Yet.
Right? Who's good enough to win their division, but who knows? Because 7 different teams have won that division, whatever it is, the last 7, the 7 previous seasons. I mean, it's just a rotation. I understand, like, the feeling is, well, bring in the right coach. You're not going to get the right coach for $3 or $4 million.
No,
I mean, and ask Michigan, by the way. Ask Michigan, by the way, how it's going with Jim Harbaugh, who they spent a boatload of money on.
And by the way, the $3 or $4 million buys you just the coordinators.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, the $3 or $4 million, it should be just coordinators. That's it, and that's where that's where they're not ready to compete with these other teams, and they're going to lose out to other teams that are like a Texas A&M. They're going to lose out to teams like that because they're going to be willing to buy Jimbo Fisher and his staff and spend a boatload of money. And that's something that, they have fallen behind. So let me ask you, Manny, is it realistic? Could they ever really spend that kind of money? What kind of money does this program have? Because sometimes we talk about it and we say, well, Miami doesn't have that kind of money. They can't spend that. Could they if they wanted to, Manny?
I think so. I think there were people that were willing to buy out, Mario Cristobal out of Oregon to bring him down here because they know he'd be an elite recruiter down here, which is the first step in getting back to being the kind of program you want to be. Yeah, I think they could. Granted, the ACC of the Power 5 schools, it's got the worst contract. They're signed in through 2037. And, all the other conferences right now are going to start making more money than the ACC is. We'll see how this quote-unquote alliance works out, and if those extra matchups against the Pac-12 and Big Ten, assuming they happen by 2030, how that helps maybe bring in more money. But, look, there's a lot of people individually around this program that give this school a lot of money that want to get this thing fixed. I just don't think the board of trustees and the people who run the University of Miami prioritize football the way Alabama, Ohio State, Clemson, Georgia, Oklahoma, those schools do. They're not going to bring out the checkbook and spend all that money on football. Look at how this university has changed the last 20 years, Bigger. When was the last time you drove down here? I don't know how long it's been.
All the time. Yeah.
I mean, it's completely different. I mean, there's so many beautiful. That's where the money's going. That's where the money's going.
Right.
So,
right now,
do they have the money? Hell yeah, they got the money.
Okay, so let me ask you something, because I'm going to come completely from ignorance here, so I depend on you because you're on the beat and you're going to know more than I do. If they have the money, doesn't it behoove them to also invest in the football program, because then they will produce a lot more to pay for the athletic program, because obviously nothing else in the athletic program is really producing money. Maybe basketball, I think, used to, but in the direction it's going in now, they're probably losing a lot of their attendance. But most of their sports don't produce money. So are they just better off paying for their athletic program directly from the ACC money? Or does it behoove them to invest more in football so it then will produce more in the end with bigger bowl games, packed stadiums, more memorabilia sold, et cetera, et cetera?
Think about it from their perspective. They're making a lot of money from the ACC. They already got their wish. They got into a Power 5 conference. That has raised them to a level where buildings are going up around here. Do you see them hurting like they were in the 1980s? When nobody was attending games and there was no money coming in? They got their money. They are the 33-year-old veteran player who's on a great contract, who's like, you know what? If I average 15 and 7, I'll get another contract. That's the way that they're operating here, dude. Like, to me, I just don't see any urgency. Like, they've got everything they want. And just being a bowl team and saying that they're in the competition, I mean, they could fire. I mean, think about it. How cheap is it to fire Manny Diaz 2 years from now or a year from now?
Yeah, a year from now, it's not expensive for them. Yeah,
right. So if the fans get pissed off and they go 6 and 7 or something like that next year because all these guys transfer out and all these recruits say I'm not coming, they can just fire the coach, hire a new one, and hey, we're on the way back. Look at this great new coach we hired from wherever, Temple. That's good enough. That's what it is. It's just a vicious cycle that keeps repeating itself. And after 20 years, you figured that you and I would be, there'd be more people besides you and I who get it.
Right. Yeah. No, I know. No, last week, obviously, there were a couple of people who were pissed off that I kept saying it's going to be a slaughter and all that stuff because again, he has not proven jack. Let me ask you something, because I've been told from inside that he's not the most relatable person, that he's not great at getting along with people. Actually, that's what I'm told about Manny Diaz.
Mm-hmm.
How much truth is there to that?
I don't get that sense. Granted, obviously, he had to part ways with Dan Enos after year one. So there's evidence of the fact that he had to hit the reset button because that guy wasn't jiving. I just think he's a first-time head coach. You hire a first-time head coach, you have first-time mistakes.
Right.
I mean, that's what I see. I see a guy who cares. He does care. He's trying to make this thing work. He's going all out.
No, of course. You could tell.
He's doing everything that he's been asked to do. I just think I don't get the sense that there's strife inside or that the players don't like him. I don't get that sense. I don't think there's any staffers who don't like him. I mean, look, everybody, when you're in a situation where you're not winning championships, everybody, and you lose games like Saturday, what's the first thing everybody does? What about me, right? How do I look? How do I look in this situation? So that's just that's just something that Miami goes through every year. When they lose games and it's like, it wasn't my fault, I think there's a lot of that always goes on. But I don't think there's anybody who hates Manny Diaz here. I don't get that sense at all. I just think it's the fans who are frustrated with 20 years of this and want to see change. But they just, I don't get the sense at all that internally there's any serious issues.
Okay. All right. Because I was told he's not the easiest cat to get along. And even on the recruiting trail locally, there's, I don't know, been some rubbing people the wrong way is what I've heard.
There's certainly some coaches who, in Miami-Dade County in particular, want to be assistant coaches at the University of Miami. And when they aren't asked to be assistant coaches at the University of Miami, they tend to talk a lot of crap.
Okay.
I'll leave it at that.
Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense. Okay. I like that. The Bubba Bolden targeting, which to me was like a really dumb foul. I mean, the kid went downward to like hit him with the helmet, which I don't know why you're leading with your helmet anymore at this point. I got it 20, 30, 40 years ago. People taught football that way and all that. By now, I don't believe these coaches are teaching you to lead with the helmet. And yet we had to go through the Amari Carter thing. Discipline on the field, intelligence on the field. Why is that an issue with this team constantly under Manny Navarro, under Manny Diaz, Manny?
Because that's the way the kids are nowadays. Oh, I mean, I'm not sitting here defending these guys' coaches' actions for everything. There's certainly ways that they can go about doing things better, but it's a different kid nowadays, in my opinion. I mean, they're different players from 20, 30, 40 years ago. I think all the old time players will tell you the same thing when they come down here and they talk to these guys, right? They just, what's wrong with this kid? Why is he thinking this way? What's going through his mind? They're taught how to avoid targeting. They're taught. Bubba Bolden goes out there and he does it. Like, again, this is why when I defend the coaches, when I quote unquote defend the coaches in the eyes of the fans, this is why I do it, because it's obvious that they're doing their job. The players just aren't doing theirs.
Right.
So, I mean, they've gone over targeting 1,000 times, and Manny Diaz doesn't like the rule, and he's expressed that, and I get it. I don't like the rule either, by the way. I think it's kind of stupid. I think, in the end, ejecting somebody for that, you don't really, it's a bang play so much of the time.
Well, wait a minute. If the defender's going this way and the receiver drops down to protect himself and then there's collision, that's when I don't have a problem with it. It's not the defender's fault. In this case,
Right.
this
He
young
lowered
man
himself.
went downward and he clashed helmets, which
I completely agree with you.
throw his ass out because you could have concussed that kid. And if that happens, then we don't want to see any kid concussed, not Bubba and not the kid that's taking the hit. You know what I mean? That was irresponsible on Bubba's part.
That's fine. And I agree with you on that part. What I'm saying is the rule overall sucks.
I got you.
Think about how many games are affected by this every single week and how many times guys get ejected when they do it the right way and they still just make helmet-to-helmet contact because of what happens.
Right.
I mean, that's the bigger issue. So to me, take away the ejection.
Right. I'm with you. When it's that called when they collide, but it was inadvertent. In other words,
right.
That's what I'm with you on that one. Yes, 1,000%. But that one was purpose, and I think that was. And I truly feel that Bubba was frustrated that he's getting his ass kicked at that moment. And he wanted to unload on the kid, and so he used his helmet. That's kind of what I feel ended up happening. Again, not that any of this would have made a difference or whatever. What the hell was Lashley thinking on the quarterback sneak up the middle against the meat of that defense, dude? What is he thinking?
Yeah. I mean, I think part of it might have been De'Eric in his knee and his leg, right? Because De'Eric even said, I should have dove. I should have done more. And if you look at that replay, God, I hate watching film on Sundays, Big O. I spent 6 hours reviewing all of this crap. It's so boring, especially a 44-13 game. But he could have pivoted to the left and got to the end zone. He just went inside. And so, I get it. You don't call that play out of the shotgun 5 yards deep. Maybe you do it 3 yards deep, short shotgun or something, so you get a better chance at it. But listen, man.
Oh, it was smooth up until now. And then we've got frozen Manny Navarro. Oh, look at that. Oh. We had him. Manny froze. Let's see if it gets unfrozen. No. It's still frozen. Sorry, folks. This is live radio, baby. And it completely froze. That's it. Although, wait a minute. You've got no, okay. I'm not freezing. I'm seeing myself. I'm still moving around. So it's on Manny's side, unfortunately. Looks like he ended up getting there he goes. It ended up dropping. Let's see if he hooks up again and we get him on and get him to finish his point, and we'll close out the segment. What cell service does Manny? Oh, come on. That happens to every cell service. It's not I know it's a running joke for all of us, but we all know no matter what cell company you have, there's always going to be a moment where it freezes, it dips, whatever, and that doesn't matter. No, there's no such thing as the perfect cell phone company. Done it. They all use the same damn towers anyways, man. Oh, Lordy. All right. I turned the game off in the first quarter when Bama went up 27-0. I don't blame you, Raphael. I'm sorry, Bromar. I don't blame you on that. Why would you even keep watching? You know what I mean? Tremolio says what needs to happen at all high school, prep schools, Aquinas, etc. Those coaches need to encourage their kids to go to UM and not Bama. Tremolio, you can't do that, my brother. Kid's got to go where he feels he's got the best opportunity, and the parents and the guardians are going to make sure they're going to go to the place that's got the best opportunity. Tremolio, what UM has to do is create an environment that people want to be a part of, that the elite players want to be a part of. And, Manny was on to something. It's a different kid now. They don't want to go somewhere where they've got to build it up themselves. That's been the problem here. A lot of these kids have put on the U helmet and they think that once they put on the helmet, they are those guys, and they're not. And that's the difference. We do have Manny back. Manny, there you go. You froze.
Hey, I apologize. I got
All
a
good.
weird thing on my phone as I'm holding here. It says overheating. I'm like, what the hell? How's my phone overheating? And you just disappeared, so I apologize, man. I'm hopefully the
Well, it's all good.
cool here. I'm like,
It's all right. Finish the point so we can wrap it up there. Go ahead. What you were saying.
well, I was just saying that I think you know what? I lost my train of thought just now, Big O, with the. I was trying to get. What was that? What was the point again? I was making.
Well, you were talking about the kids that they're different in communicating. Yes. Go ahead.
My point was just that the kids to me are different nowadays than back in the day, and I think you can try to coach them up as best as possible, but I think there's a lot of in the moment where they lose their heads and they don't do the things they're supposed to do, man. And right. I don't know if that's because coaches are spending less time with them. That is something that is different from the previous era, by the way. I mean, when Jimmy and these guys had them, they would 3-a-day practices. They had all these intense practice. Like, I don't know.
Well, they would also practice on their own,
right,
too. That was another thing that doesn't happen a lot anymore, huh? They don't practice on their own. They don't have. They don't have former players cooking them up.
They do get together and they do stuff, but I just think, it's a different player, man. It's a different era. Yeah. I think that's why you see the type of mistakes that you see with these guys.
Yeah, I think that's across the board. It's not just sports. I think in life, we're looking at these younger generations, and they are completely wired differently, man. Absolutely wired differently. So that I will definitely agree with that. Manny, what are you working on in the athletics so folks can check you out, my friend?
Well, I just had a couple of articles. Like I said, my Sunday game film where I spent 6 hours reviewing that tape. That's up there to read. I just put out another article about 3 plays Lashley said that they left on the field. There'll be some more recruiting stuff this week, and then obviously the coverage of the App State game. But man, I covered Florida State this week too. I covered that game from home, and so I have an article on FSU. The Athletic has me all over the place, bro.
Yeah, no doubt. I see it. You're like Sagua Fair. You're everywhere. Yes. There you go. Follow him on Twitter at Manny_Navarro, and make sure you subscribe to Athletic. They do a great job of covering our local teams. Manny, as always, you're a stud, my brother. We will talk again on Friday, my friend, as they get ready for App State.
All right, brother. Take care.
You got it. There you go. The great Manny Navarro. Good stuff as always with Manny in the Caneswear Miami Hurricanes report.
If you're a Miami sports fan, then there's only one store to go to, and that's Caneswear at Miami Fanwear in Davie. They're your one-stop shop for all your inner Miami CF, Canes, Dolphins, Panthers, and Marlins merchandise. They have hats, t-shirts, game day jerseys, and so much more. Located at 2511 South University Drive in Davie, and open 24/7 online at caneswear.com or innermiamiwear.com. Call them at 954-835-5597. Caneswear, the spot where Inter Miami and all Miami sports fans shop.